Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are here today with the Managing Director of Pivotal Metals, Mr. Ivan Fairhall, who's going to be giving us an update on the company and the plans ahead at Hordern Lake and Belleterre-Anglier Greenstone Belt, or otherwise known as BABG. And I'm going to hand it over to Ivan now, and we may have some questions at the end. So take it away, Ivan.
All right, thanks a lot, Peter. And welcome to shareholders and interested parties. This is my first webinar. As you're probably aware, I've only been in the job a couple of months and been very busy in that period of time, getting my feet under a desk and getting our plans in place, ready to execute. And I'm going to tell you a few things about that now. So just before we kick off, a little bit about my background. Who am I? Look, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I've always effectively worked in this junior mining space and in and around project development. So technical roles as an engineer and a project manager, and then working in private equity as a buyer of projects, a strategic shareholder, and a seller of projects as well, and then as an MD. And so, what I see in Pivotal is exactly the type of thing that I believe makes a successful junior mining company. And our asset has significant amounts of value. But most importantly for shareholders, I think that we can get a lot of that value reflected in the share price much more than you see today. So I'm going to spend the next 10 or 15 minutes taking you through a few reasons why I think that's true, get you to understand the story and what you've got what you have to look forward to as an investor in Pivotal. Jumping through the presentation. Standard disclaimer, you can access that on our website if you'd like to read that more closely. Yeah, so taking a bit of an overview on our assets, we have quality assets and we're well positioned. So what we mean by that is we're in the right commodity space. I'm not going to sit here and tell you a lot about battery metals. I think most people know why they're invested in that space, but from our perspective as a company, what's super important is the support that I believe that those critical metals are going to receive. So on a political front, as well as a financial, the tailwinds that are going to blow even more strongly in the direction of these companies addresses two of the biggest challenges, which is permitting and financing. So there's a lot of reasons why it's important to be in this space. We have high quality assets. We have two main assets in our portfolio. Hordern Lake, the most advanced, it's got a large certified resource. It's got bona fide development potential, but a lot more exploration upside. And I'm going to spend a fair bit of this presentation explaining to you what that upside looks like and how we look to exploit that over time. We also have an earlier stage project called Belleterre's Greenstone Belt, as Pete tried to get out there. It is a bit of a mouthful, so we all go by BAGB, and that project has exceptionally high grades of nickel, copper, and PGM. And what we're looking for there, it's an earlier stage exploration property, but we're looking for a big prize. There's a lot of mineralization at surface at high grades, and we're looking for where that came from. Our projects are in Quebec, and I will spend a little bit of time explaining why that really is a fantastic supportive mining jurisdiction and provides significant advantages to us as a company. And importantly, we're funded for re-rate catalyst. So we have a work program that's been announced. I'm going to tell you about it today. We're going to look to improve our assets. We're going to look to de-risk them, and that you've got that news flow to look forward to over the next sort of 6 to 12 months. So just jumping back to Quebec. So on the left-hand side there, you see a map of Quebec and our projects there. 300 kilometers to the north of Val d'Or. People would know Val d'Or, the Valley of Gold, in fact, is what it's the literal definition. Literal translation, I should say, and that's the Abitibi Belt, one of the most famous mining jurisdictions in the world. So Hordern Lake is 300 kilometers north of Val d'Or, and we have our exploration project BAGB to the west and south of that Abitibi Belt. So pretty good postcode from a geological and a neurology perspective. But as a jurisdiction to be invested in and to be working in, it really is supporting mining jurisdiction. We've got a few reasons why that's there, but I think the most important one you can take away from this today is the flow-through share financing scheme. So for those people who are not familiar with it, flow-through is essentially a tax credit harvesting scheme. And it's a plumbing thing that happens for investors in Canada that you travel through as part of placing shareholders, ASX beneficial owners. And what it really means in simple terms is, for example, in May, we raised $2 million down here with investors on the ASX, and $4 million got deposited into our bank account. So the government is effectively paying half of our exploration cost in country. And that really typifies for me what a supportive mining jurisdiction really means. It's a structural advantage to us as a company, and it shows a lot about their support for mining in the region as well. So Hordern Lake, it is our most advanced asset, and it is a significant asset on the ASX. We've got 28 million tonnes at 1.5% copper equivalent. That's copper, nickel, and PGM. So it's about 410,000 tonnes of contained copper equivalent. As I said, that is significant when you look at the peer group. It's about 50% copper, about 30% nickel by value, and about 20% by PGM. And we see that those byproducts, those PGM and gold and precious metal byproducts, will increase over time. It's fairly well advanced at 52,000 meters of drilling. It's in the more than half in the indicated category and 60% in an open pit shell. So that's important from a development perspective and a risk and capital cost perspective. The project starts at surface, and the grades are good. So we're going to make that project bigger. I've got a couple of slides that are going to make it better, and we have a resource. We have an exploration plan outlined and funded and committed to exploit that over the next 6 months. But before we get on to, I suppose, how we're going to make the project bigger and better, just looking at what we have already on the balance sheet today, effectively, that 410,000 tonnes copper equivalent. This is a graph showing a few of our peers, ASX-listed companies with projects at similar stage. So the left-hand side, the green bars, they're contained copper equivalent, and the red dots are the valuation per tonne of copper equivalent on an EV basis. So, what you can see here is a fairly clear illustration of a significant sort of dislocation in value. And so you've got to ask yourself why. The obvious question is why? What explains that? I think, fundamentally, you've got to look at the history of Pivotal. It was formerly Rafaela Resources, and the reality is that that company, our company, lost its mining license, had the mining license taken off it by the Spanish government. That did, for obvious reasons, did a lot of damage to the valuation of the company, and I think that that is not reflective of the company today. We've exited Spain. We've got rid of one project, and we're looking to get rid of the other, and we're fully focused on Canada, and we have a significant asset, and you can see the valuation of these assets in similar companies, and this history of the company creates a huge opportunity for shareholders. It's painful for existing shareholders, but future shareholders, current shareholders have a lot to look forward to as we bring this project to market. And as we have people understand and realise the value of this project just in what we've got today, let alone what we believe we can take it to, it really does create a significant opportunity for shareholders. So how are we going to make it better? So there is actually grade upside. Now, I have a lot of people say to me, well, how are you going to make the grade of the project go up? That's an easy thing to say, hard thing to do. Well, in our case, we've got a real reason to be able to say that, and it's not a geostatistical anomaly. The history of the project, it was drilled in a large part, but 35,000 meters, I think, was drilled by Inco in the 60s. Now, back then, commodity prices were completely different, and they were the best nickel company in the world. And so they're looking through a slightly different lens, and what they only assayed for effectively was copper and nickel. Now, subsequent drill programs have been done in 2008 and 2012, and those drill programs have identified significant byproduct credits. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and cobalt. You can see those there down here in the left-hand box. Now, those credits are either only constrained currently in the resource, or they're not included at all. And so one of the priorities of this year's drill program, 8,000 meters that we've committed to starting in January, is to infill some of that multi-element assay across the breadth of the deposit and allow us to bring those other valuable, and they are true byproducts, valuable products into the resource and increase the average grade of the deposit. Now, the other priority of the drill program is to start to unpack the upside on the project from a tonnes perspective. We are looking to add tonnes, with this drill program, but it's not a big step out program. It's going to be careful placement of holes in and around some areas of the mineralisation that will add. So we expect the resource to go up. That is our plan. But but I think people need to understand that it's going to have much more potential beyond that. So one of the other things we're doing in winter, and we've committed to, is downhole geophysics, downhole EM, borehole EM, to start to look below the existing mineralisation. We have massive sulfides in the deposit, in the footwall, and that EM is an effective tool, well-known effective tool. It's to target massive sulfides. It's never been done on the project before. And so we're going to be able to explain to shareholders and other interested parties that this mineralisation, we believe, continues at depth. We're going to have off-hole conductors, down-hole conductors, and it's going to show a path for continued resource growth over time. In terms of development considerations, we believe we have a significant asset, not just on a scale perspective and relative to our peers, but an asset that can be mined. It has favourable characteristics that certainly that I look for as an engineer and as an investor in my previous life. I believe this can become a mine. We've got good ore body geometry. We've got a nice dip that suits the open pit shape quite well. We've got thick zones of mineralisation because we have sort of semi-massive to disseminated mineralisation out on the hanging wall. So wide zones of mineralisation in both the open pit and the underground potential. That sort of pushes you towards lower mining costs, bulk mining conditions. We've done metallurgical test work that shows in particular the copper recoveries are extremely good. There's more work to be done, and that's another big priority of the drill program, is to collect metallurgical sample and to continue that flow sheet optimization, in particular targeting the nickel to maintain the highest, to effectively access the highest possible net smelter return. We're close to a highway, 10 kilometres from an all-season, well-maintained, tarred dual-lane highway. And of course, we're in Quebec with that famous some of the world's cheapest hydroelectric power. So we're in a mining jurisdiction, and we believe that the mine can be built here. In terms of the geology, I won't spend too much time on this, but what this tells you is there's significant upside potential. It's a structurally hosted magmatic sulfide deposit. These deposits tend to continue until you prove that they don't, and you can see from that previous slide, we almost nowhere across the deposit have we drilled this out down dip. So plenty of opportunity for this to continue to go into depth. They drill a long way, they mine a long way down in Canada, and the sort of the sky's the limit in some respects as to the potential opportunity on the project, subject of course to drilling. So that's a quick summary on Hordern Lake. I'm conscious of time rolling on. Just would like to spend a couple of minutes explaining the BAGB projects. It's a different type of opportunity, but equally really important aspect of a successful company is having significant exploration potential for major exploration discovery, and I believe we really have that here. So BAGB is a collection, a series of properties that Pivotal consolidated. So we've got a very large land holding, 157 square kilometres. And within that land holding, there have been a number of discoveries, high-grade mineralisation and drilling, resources defined, some areas where it's been mined at a small scale. And so we've got a lot of mineralisation at surface. It's been relatively well explored, and you can just see some of those extremely good intersections. You don't see intersections like that every day. And what that has told us is there is significant amounts of mineralisation flowed through these rocks. Other parties have looked, but they've all looked at shallow. It's really only been drilled to 200 to 300 metres, shallow exploration. We've got the opportunity here with the consolidated land and taking a different approach and doing our homework to look for an anomaly of scale. Where did these instances of mineralisation on surface come from? Where is the feeder system? And we're trying to find something big here, something significant, and the opportunity is very large. And obviously making a discovery in this area has got quite game-changing potential. So the work that we're doing, we're actually in the process right now of doing some deeper geophysics, a technique called MT, and that's just looking to add to the data set in an area, it's a subset of the much larger area. There is a lot of data there, and we've got time on our hands to focus and come up with significant targets, trying to make a big discovery. So in terms of news flow, I've discussed the sorts of things that we're doing. We're extremely active. We're very busy, and we have a significant committed program. We're doing geophysics as we speak. Metallurgy is looking to start with some historic core that we've got, and we'll continue obviously after we've accessed fresh core from the drilling, flotation test work. We're doing geophysics up at Horden Lake as soon as we mobilise the winter program, and of course the drill program, assays to flow out into next year, resource update. These are all the sorts of things, significant amounts of news and important things that are going to help people. It's going to add value to the project at the asset level, but importantly, raise the awareness of the project and try to close up that gap in re-rating as people have to accept and people see the value in Horden Lake, and we start to join that peer group. Okay. Sorry, Pete, you're on mute. So, yeah, look.
Yeah. Just going to see if you were going to just elaborate on this last slide here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, it's just a bit of a summary of what I said. Why invest in Pivotal? Like I said, we've got the right commodity mix. Our projects are in a fantastic supportive location, and we have two significant projects, the Horden Lake project being the advanced project that's going to grow and get bigger, and we're going to look to de-risk that value. And we've also got some really exciting exploration potential, game-changing type discovery potential with BAGB, and the funding in place to actually bring all those projects forward and advance the projects in the market.
Thanks, Ivan. It's a good summary of where you are today and an outlook on where the company has potential in the year ahead, which looks really good. Just want to ask a question about Horden Lake and the development considerations. Obviously, as you said, close to power and infrastructure, which is great. You're not in the middle of the West Australian desert where there's nothing around you. So mining can commence post-permitting and approvals more easily. The resource sits from surface. So that's going to give you a lot of a bit of a head start in terms of getting to the ore body and working on that extraction.
Yeah, look, I come from a project development background, and you stand on the ground, you stand on that project, and there's a project to be built here. The deposit comes effectively to surface. The infrastructure hurdles are low. The road comes right by the project within 10 kilometres. There's absolutely nothing in between. Power. We've got access to cheap power, the ability for low-cost power connection. That really helps projects. It's a major operating cost, and having access to green and also it's cheap and also green power. This is 100% hydro. It's got other favourable sort of support for the projects in this ESG world that we live in. And so look, I think the combination of those factors, the ore body geometry, where it sits, where it is in the world, in a place that's a mining jurisdiction with all the skills, services that you need to build a project in a province that's used to having projects built. Yeah, I just believe it's an eminently executable project.
And the ore body, which, as we saw, plunges quite extensively down and starting from surface where you'd open pit from the start, how large is that footprint, and is there halo copper in the overburden or the surrounding burden that you take from the pit?
So it's quite extensive along strike. You've got there's 1.5 kilometres essentially from end to end. In terms of the mineralisation, the best mineralisation, the highest grade, those coveted massive sulfides, they tend to form in the footwall of the deposit, in the sediments. And in the gabbros is where you get that starts to become semi-massive and in some places disseminated. And so that's where you're getting the bulking out of the tons, which sort of like a nice combination of both. You've got the massive sulfides carrying the grade and the lower grade mineralization, the disseminated stuff that's really carrying the tons and lowering the strip ratio and bringing the unit costs down.
And BAGB represents a package of more potential to extrapolate what you've already got there and bring more value to those targets.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's my experience is that for these companies to be successful is you need a significant, it's helpful to have a significant amount of exploration opportunity and have that underpinned by significant value in an advanced project. So BAGB really brings that spice to the story. It's something that we can, these projects, they benefit from time and a cautious approach, like a conservative approach. The most expensive exploration you can do is with the drill bit. And we have the time, and I think it's worthy of taking the time to study the project in detail, use all the tools that we have at our disposal to target drill holes for maximum success. And because we've got a big land area, there's a lot of targets and a lot of things you could put holes in, and we want to make sure that we're using shareholder funds most effectively, but that the potential outcome is very large, which makes it a fairly exciting part of the portfolio.
And Ivan, you highlighted that the company is suffering from the overhang of the Spanish decision, but here we are in a weak resources market with not much downside, hopefully, and plenty of upside. You've formed or reformed a bit of a board around you that's bringing all different types of expertise and support to you and the company. What is it that you like about the board and your management team, and where you all together aim to take this company?
Well, that's right. We do have, this is a new company. It's had a name change. It's had a complete change out of the assets, and it's got a new board, a new chairman, new managing director. So it's brought a whole lot of energy to the story, focus. Everyone knows why they're there. Very supportive board who owns a significant number of shares. Everyone's really rowing in the same direction. And a little company like us, you really need that support around you, and to have high-powered individuals like we have on our board that are able to put their shoulder in at all points. It's of huge value to me personally as a managing director and as a director myself. It's great to have those people around me. And you said there's companies suffering from a sort of a overhang. I wouldn't call it an overhang from Spain. I think the worst of that is what I would call it is a hangover, and that hangover is weighing on the valuation, and that is the opportunity today, is to exploit that dislocation. We're bringing this asset to market for the first time. It's been in private hands. The ASX has never seen it, and we've never put out results for this project, never drilled it in public markets, and I think the opportunity for us to be drilling this project and bringing results forward and raising the awareness is huge. It really is.
Well, that's a pretty good take-home message too, Ivan, for shareholders, both new and existing, and we look forward to seeing the implementation of some of those plans over the next few months, and the results and the improvement that we expect and you expect will come. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you to everybody else for joining us as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Pete. And thank you to all the shareholders for your support, and hopefully those who are thinking about investing, we have the opportunity to join us for the ride.
Thank you.